something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day, folks. How are you? Have you had a good day? Have you had a good couple of days? I missed you last night, but I thought I'd give people a bit of a rest from me and prepare myself for what happened last night with Tim and his meeting last night, which we'll get to shortly and have a bit of a chat about. But we'll catch up on the news from yesterday today. A little bit of news if you're not aware. I don't watch mainstream media, haven't seen anything out of mainstream media, and I've not seen anything on the odd web page that I would come across that has mentioned this, but one of the world's greatest landslides has taken place in Switzerland. There is a little village called Bladen, and it's no longer there. Now, that village had a number of hundreds of people living in it. It wasn't large. It sat on the side of a beautiful river and in the bottom of a valley. The mountain glacier that collapsed and came down the mountain has been giving signs of it happening now for some weeks, and they evacuated the town a few days ago. So the evacuation, when it was given, was immediate. You could grab literally your papers and go. That was it. All their possessions were left behind. And I don't have any images of it. I forgot to, I was too staggered at what I saw, but I will grab some and show you tomorrow night, or you can find them yourself on YouTube. There's a couple of really good videos that show you exactly what happened. But over the years, we've seen landslides in various different parts of the world. The biggest landslide up until maybe today has previously happened in the 1800s. I think it was 1860. And there was 50 billion cubic meters of soil, rock, and everything else that came tearing down the side of a mountain. This landslide in Switzerland today could, in fact, rival that largest slide of all time. It has traveled a great distance from a great height. The glacier was some thousands, I want to say close to 4,000 feet above the town. There was some mitigation put in place, hoping that the glacier itself wouldn't collapse. It was only just shedding bits and pieces, and that any landslide would be able to be caught by this berm that they built sort of a couple of thousand feet below the glacier. Unfortunately, it just got overwhelmed. There was a slide yesterday that was fairly significant, but it stopped short of the town by some 500 or 600 meters. And in the afternoon time yesterday in Switzerland, the rest of it came down. And when I say the rest of it, I mean a whole mountain essentially has slid down the side of itself. What does this pose? Well, it poses problems, not so much because it killed a lot of people. There is reports of one death, and that would probably be a scientist who was unlucky enough to be standing in the wrong spot, because there were a lot of people, a lot of scientific equipment placed on the mountain and a lot of cameras to observe what was going to happen. So they were going to get it day or night. So very lucky that way. But the river that it has blocked to a massive extent. 2 kilometers long is the blockage of this river. Now, okay, the river gets blocked. What's that mean? Well, it means part of it's going to dam up. And that's going to cause flooding back up the valley. Now, that flooding could be quite severe, given that the whole reason this glacier has come down the side of the mountain with the side of the mountain is from snow and glacier melt. No, they weren't suggesting for one moment that this is climate change. This is a very natural occurrence. They always have known this. They've planned for this. They measure for this almost on a daily basis. in Switzerland. So that's something they're very, very aware of. So no, got nothing to do with climate change. I haven't heard anybody starting to scream about climate change just yet with it, but I also haven't heard anybody in the mainstream media talking about it at all. And trust me, it's some of the most spectacular pictures you're going to see. I wonder who lived in Blatten, who owned all that property. Switzerland, obviously known for a variety of things, but at the moment, it's known for a 2 kilometre blockage of a river, a town that's 90% gone. And if they were to try and clear that debris from the river, they would need 500,000 semi-trailer loads of debris to be taken away. Now, the lady who put these figures together is Swiss, so she understands the Swiss system. The semi-trailers that you can get, the largest ones that you can get, can only be 18.5 meters long in Switzerland. I guess maybe because of the very windy roads. Not going to get too many B-doubles up around them. And it would take 500,000 loads, or if you had enough trucks, they'd be backed up from Zurich to Beijing, I think she said, 9,000 kilometers. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward there. They say they do have plans if the flooding occurs, and I'm sure the Swiss will run everything like clockwork. Isn't that what they say? Rach was first in the room tonight. Fear and condoms. Yeah, it could well be a must-watch show. We'll get into the fear and condom side very shortly. Tony, thank you for your stuff you sent through last night. I appreciate that. Macca, good to have you in too. On your spazza, life, the universe, and everything goes on, brother. Just keep pushing. Also, I'm seeing my own posts there. DMs in. Sandy, the lovely Sandy. Now, I did see something from you there before saying that you had managed to get a little bit of feed in. So that's great. Yeah, 2 days without rain is obviously very helpful. I'm not sure if you're going to cop it, but we certainly are in Queensland, apparently. I saw some predictions that we are in for, beg your pardon, I want to say it's 3 days of pretty heavy rain. But I saw those yesterday. I just had a quick glance at the weather there before forward into next week. It's only showing 2 days of sort of cloudy with a bit of rain weather. So maybe nothing too bad is going to be happening there. Hello, Maria, the lovely Michelle Bradley Smith. I hope you are well. And I was with you the other night, Michelle. I understand it all gets a bit hard with crypto at times, and the head starts spinning. Mine certainly did and does. I feel it's something we have to get our heads around because eventually, if we live long enough, it's going to happen. And there's no point in not knowing anything about it. It doesn't mean I would go and throw all or any money into it right now. I haven't. There's probably a few reasons for that. The big one being I don't have any money. But even then, if I did, I would really consider about where it went. But I understand there are those like Mark who spoke about it the other night, and QSI folks. They're very into it as well. And I know many other people outside of that universe that are also deeply into crypto, and they're all saying generally the same thing. So, might have to look at investing in XRP. That's just what I'm saying. Hello, Dave-O. Speaking of things you can invest in, collectible gold and silver. I went up to Ainsley Bullion yesterday and sat down with Matt and Ant, who are the collectibles guys at Ainsley Bullion in Brisbane. Now, while Ainsley don't do collectibles as such, they do have them come through. These two guys are all over that part of the business. And we thought we'd try and share a little bit with you. You may have seen the show I did with them a few months back, and we did get a bit of reaction to that. So we've gone and done it again. Got a few more beautiful coins for you to have a look at. I'll get that edited over the weekend, and I'll probably just load that up on the site rather than make it a show. But we shall see how it all plays out. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more, not trying to. Hello, Connie. Nice to see you in. Dave-O, you're a legend, and yes, you are a legend. Scotty, hope you are well, brother. CP, Johanna. Is that how you say it, Johanna? Paul, Belinda. I think I've got through just about. Hello, Judith. Nice to have you in. I think I've got to just about everybody. The gorgeous Sunflower. I hope you are going well, my dear. And Rick and the family are doing as good as can be inspected. Oh, God, Carl. Be expected as we're pushing through all this shit in our lives. And my God, there is a little bit to push through. I went to the dentist today. I don't want to talk about it. All right, I'll move on. G'day, Ken. Hello, Donna. I think if I've missed you, what the spaz is in. I think Zab's in. I saw him pop in. So, and Stu, right. I think I'm down the bottom end. Right, we finally got there. Hope you've all been well. Last night, with great anticipation, I logged in maybe half an hour early to Tim's Zoom. Now, the topic of Tim's Zoom last night was for him to present his solution, and I thought his presentation was great. He readily admits it may not be the solution, and he has asked for people who have been working on their version of a solution to get in touch, to reach out, to exchange ideas, to see how we can massage into place the full jigsaw. But to do that, we're going to need all the pieces. And last night was Tim's presentation of some, and you could argue most or all of a solution, all of a solution. Now, is it the solution? Well, that's really up to us, the people, we the people. But last night, at the beginning of the Zoom, where I can tell you that there were, by the time it all finished, there were over 800 people in there. And at the beginning of it, I think there were 750 odd. And he did start a few minutes late, allowing people through. Unfortunately, that probably allowed a few of the dickheads who no longer have licenses because they've been dickheads on the road and are now stuck at home being keyboard warrior dickheads instead. It allowed them an opportunity to get in. Now, somebody, certainly wasn't Tim, I know it wasn't me, but somebody had applied for the link to go in and be admitted into this forum last night, and they'd shared that with their friends, their twatter, whatever it is, cocker watch mates. And a couple of them got into the room. They were pretty good initially. They stayed quiet, but once the presentation really started and Tim brought up the whiteboard, life did become a little interesting, I've got to say. I was speaking to Tim earlier this afternoon, and he asked me to apologize to those of you once again who were in there and saw what happened last night. It wasn't more a seeing thing than a hearing thing, folks. We had a bunch of 3-year-olds, it looked like, who were writing on the whiteboard, using the whiteboard facility to write all over Tim's PowerPoint presentation. Vince fixed it eventually. It did take a little while because Zoom, for whatever reason, has multiple protocols to stop those sort of things happening. So when you tick the box that says don't use the whiteboard, and that box had been ticked, you've also got to tick another box that says don't let anybody else use the whiteboard, and that's buried somewhere. So that one wasn't ticked, and eventually it was ticked, and that all got sorted. The dickheads who were coming back into the rooms after being booted under different names were eventually all found out and discovered. In fact, probably found out in much further ways than you probably realize, folks, because Vince was running the other end of all of that. And, well, let's just say there's a lot of very happy Cheshire cat type smiles going on at the moment. So that's why these dickheads aren't very smart. They are scared, though. Last night they showed their fear, and this is all they can do at the moment. They think that by climbing into a room in front of 750 or 1,000 people, and they can write a few obscenities on a whiteboard, that they're going to derail this movement. Now, that's clearly not going to work. And the only rational person who could possibly consider doing this is someone who is panicking and doesn't have enough intelligence to figure out a better way to stop the movement. Because, trust me, writing a few obscenities on a whiteboard in a presentation is not going to stop any of us at all. The fact is, all of us use our real names. You, the scum, the weak, pizzling, no-hope, fully jabbed-up morons who can barely utter a sentence, let alone write something coherently, are, sadly, on your way out. You're on your way out for a variety of reasons, and I know that will be upsetting to you. But you must understand that we don't care anymore. We tried to warn you. You ridiculed, you laughed, you carried on. And even still, we tried to warn you. I personally have had conversations with the head cooker watcher about this. She's a decent enough girl, but steadfast in her beliefs. And I can't fault that because I am steadfast in mine. And I can still respect her, or I could. You see, every one of you trolls, well, maybe you are trollops. Every one of you that comes in here, although thankfully we don't get too many of you in here anymore because we've reached an accommodation where you understand, I don't care. We're just going to put you down. There's no point in coming in and writing anything on my whiteboard or anybody else's. All it does is diminish you and your perspective. All it does is show your fear, your lack of understanding, your lack of critical thinking skills, and potentially a lack of your intelligence. Now, I know Cooker Watch is a smart lady. A lot of the people who follow her, not so much. Just smartasses who like to be anonymous, who hide. Weak, weak, weak. Childish, beyond childish. And so boring. So boring. I should probably bring my microphone down closer. So boring. When you interrupt not just a presentation like Tim's, but anybody who's doing something for the freedom movement, you're not really doing anything. You disrupt nothing. There are a few in the movement who will get angry and carry on, and I guess that's the reaction you look for. And I've been guilty of it. But I couldn't raise that sort of energy for you people anymore. I mean, I'm saddened for you. I feel sorry for you, pathetic thinkers that you are. But life goes on, at least for the unjabbed. And it must be a horrible thing, a horrible realization to come to, given all the evidence that's now coming to light that we have been talking about for years and is now being proven with regards to the spicy dart and, in fact, the whole spicy cough saga has all been proven in our favour. But none of you will back down. And I guess that's either because you're too proud or you're just too fucking stupid. And if that's the case, well, I think, law of the jungle applies, doesn't it? The weak die. The strong live. The ones that are smart enough not to walk into a trap don't get trapped. But you mob, like sheep to the slaughter. And that's literally what it is. I mean, I'm not saying we're missing it, because one one of the rather interesting things we'll talk about here a little later on is that Big Pharma are the biggest user of aerial delivery systems, spray delivery systems for vaccines in the world. That's what we're being sprayed with, folks, in many cases. Not sure that it's as prevalent here in Australia. Certainly is in the US, certainly is in Europe. But there is a reason that we might be a little less involved in that, and that would be because of our population density. We've only got 26 million people, and we are spread out over a vast land. You got to put an awful lot of liters into that's going to fall on an awful lot of dirt and an awful lot of emptiness before it gets into any one of us. It's more expensive than to target us, down the East Coast, down the West Coast, across the bottom, across the top. But they're also using our weather systems to deliver it as well. So they spray into that, gets blown across and dispersed across the country as you go. But because there is so much of our country that has nothing in it, a lot of this shit will fall on absolutely nothing, meaning it's a great cost for nothing. So that's not the case in America, not the case in Europe, because communities are much closer together and they're much larger populations. So we may have been spared a little bit of that, but that's something, to be aware of. That's where I think this thing's going. But yeah, for those folks who were in Tim's chat last night, then, and if you do have a suggestion, something else to add to what he said last night, maybe you've got an entire different way of approaching this, then I urge you, please reach out to Tim. Tim at ourtrueaustralia.com is the email address, and send one to him. He has been inundated today with support, and he has got support from a range of areas, that some of which are slightly unexpected. There will be another one of these Zooms next Wednesday night where discussions about what comes in this week will take place. What could be added, what could be taken away, what other ways might we find more pieces of this solution puzzle. That may not be open to everybody, quite 1,000 people. That might be limited to just those people that are submitting something to add. This would mean that it might well be a longer presentation, depending on how many of you there are. And you would maybe all get a minute or two just to present whatever that piece of the puzzle is you feel could work, could be used. Now, I think that's how it's going to work. I'm not completely sure, but I do know that he has been inundated. So by the time he goes through all that, that show could potentially run 3 hours. So it would be very interesting to listen, though. Very interesting to partake. And then, of course, once all of those ideas have been incorporated into a presentation, and we have a base presentation in Tim's presentation. So once those ideas have been incorporated, then we will have another one of these meetings where it will be presented to everybody, or at least to 1,000 people in the room. And we would appreciate your feedback. Now, if there is anybody from the troll hood, the twatters and the cocker suckers, cocker watchers, would you? Well, you know who I mean. If any of them have an idea, and I mean a genuine idea, we welcome hearing it. All right, but if your idea is shove it up your ass, or to draw a dick on the screen, then ho hum, you are so immature, so boring. And it's so sad that you are unaware of how dry your penile gland is getting after your jab experience. If you're unaware, that's what it's doing to you. It is drying out your pineal gland. And what will that do to you? Well, it'll keep you just as you are, because you've already proven you're insensitive, unemotional fucks who couldn't give a shit about anybody else but yourself. So you're already there. Now we just hope for the sterilization to take effect. That's why condoms are a necessity, folks, right? Some of you could have saved us from all this shit just by wearing a condom. All right. Let's get into it. It's probably a bit harsh. Sorry. Let's get into it. Have a look at a few other different bits and pieces. Some interesting news out of the Diddy trial today. Barack Obama has been named in the trial. Now, everybody goes, ooh, great. He's been named what? As a sex trafficker, as a user of sex trafficked kids, extortion, rape, all sorts of different things that we've heard about from him. No. His former Diddy, I'm talking about here, a former private secretary or private assistant to him testified that part of Diddy's daily ritual was a drug cocktail. And the first pill that he would take as part of that cocktail every morning was an ecstasy pill in the shape of Obama's head. So I'll be honest, I thought to myself, oh, that seems a bit. So I typed in Obama ecstasy pill head. Obama head ecstasy pill. I don't know. Looks like an artist rendition to me, just between you, me, and the gatepost. But I did think it was quite funny. However, what isn't funny is some of the shit that's going on in Diddy's world. Now, this case has obviously been in the works for many months now. Diddy has been incarcerated. He's had, I think, 2 or 3 goes at getting bail and never got there. They weren't going to let him out. There has been, in the background, a lot of talk about his relationship with Jay-Z. And Jay-Z was expected to help in some way, shape, or form here. And Diddy had made some statements before he went into jail that if he was to go down and nobody helped him, then everybody go down. You know how it is. Well, codes are important. If you want to have a communication with somebody and you don't want anybody else to understand what you're saying, you have a code. Now, if you don't have a cipher for that code, then all you hear is a conversation, which may or may not make sense, but you won't understand it for what it's really meaning. That's what a code is all about. We're going to test whether or not you have a cipher for a code, because Diddy had a phone conversation with his brother, I think it is, from jail, and he was definitely speaking in a code. Can you figure out what he's saying?
None of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes. Okay. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah. Did Jay reach out yet? Nah, Bob. He ghosting. Yeah, watch. What this motherfucker doing? These things sweet. You heard him? Because I'm in here. Jay-Z reach out. You about to get out on bail. No. Hey, yo, check this out. Need you to reach out to the producer. Let these motherfuckers know there's a release date for that new Netflix movie. Alright, Pop. It's fucking crazy right now.
You heard him? That's a threat. You know, he's talking about something he got on audio, on the video, right? Yeah. Let him laugh now. We're going to laugh the loudest later.
I think that might be the case. Diddy reckons Jay-Z is going to help him before he went into jail. He's been in jail a long time. He's asking there whether Jay has reached out. No, nothing like that. In fact, he's being ghosted by Jay. Well, there's a release date for that new Netflix movie. Does that mean Diddy's going to roll? Could be interesting. Could be very interesting, I would have thought. What would he roll on? Who would he roll on? Well, there's the whole celebrity satanic ritual cult through Hollywood. And, of course, there's the whole music industry. There's no shortage of things he could turn over, people he could turn over, people he could expose. Interesting. I wonder if he could expose this bloke.
I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and the Shinabeg people. This land acknowledgement is a recognition of shared history as a nation, while continuing to deepen my own understanding. It is my great hope that in each of your communities and collectively as a country, a path is found toward truth and reconciliation in both word and deed.
Yawn, yawn, yawn. I guess there are many Canucks, like many Aussies, that don't understand it's all an act. He's trying there very hard to keep the cabal myth going. But I think he is also signalling with his new understandings of just where this is all going. And where is it all going? Well, it's all going to hell in a handbasket for them. That's what I can say. Why do I think that? Well, look closely. Circled up the back there is the dates of the Canadian Parliament. The date it began in 1867. That was when Canada's Confederation happened. And then 2017, when Trump had the capitulation tour. And you might remember that Trudeau Turk going off from about that time like a frog in a sock or a very bad blowfly in a beer bottle. This has been playing out for the longest time, the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years nearly. There is evidence all around us, but we've got to choose to see it. Here's a bit of evidence I found a bit interesting. Sikh woman wins her appeal against carrying a knife for religious purposes on school grounds. That knife is called a kirpan. Now, I've done a little bit of investigation into all of this. The kirpan is usually meant to be a blunted knife. It is ceremonial in nature only. It is to be worn against or as close to the skin as possible. It's not usually worn outside their garments, but I guess there are certain times where it would be, particularly ceremonial times. Why are they allowed to carry it? Because even a blunt knife can do serious damage. And even, let's be honest, I reckon if you jammed that in the right place, it'd do you a bit of a mischief. Just between you, me, and the gatepost. Be rather unpleasant. And the scabbard could do you some harm as well. However, the Sikhs are not known, at least in Australia, for their fighting. India, on the other hand, they've been fairly serious issues between the different religious groups in India over the years, but the Sikhs predominantly pretty nice people, and they do a great deal of things for the community. So I investigated a bit more and tried to find out why they would be allowed to carry a knife and we're not. Well, it is a religious practice. The knife is symbolic of one of 5 gifts that were given to the Sikh people after an initiation ceremony many years ago. The knife was one. I have them written here somewhere. Let me have a look. A wooden comb, a turban for the hair, cotton underwear, and a steel bracelet, along with the kirpan, the knife. So these were all given to the Sikh people, and they have to wear them at all times to show fealty to their god. Do they get used offensively? Well, look, if I was a Sikh lady and somebody was trying to rape me and I had it on me, yes, I would probably try and shove that thing somewhere that would discourage the rapist rather rapidly. However, does that pose greater danger? Because if you are not able to use a knife, if you don't know how to use a knife, you are going to have that knife taken off you and have it used on you. So I would argue that carrying it on their person, male or female, places them in greater danger, because if you're not using it as a weapon, then you're going to get the shit kicked out of you. If you pull it out to use it as a weapon, you're probably likely to get the shit kicked out of you and have it used against you in the kicking. What's safer? Leaving it at home, probably. Isn't that how they convinced us to give up our guns? Just saying. Some of the other things that they've convinced us to do. You might remember the good old days when hundreds of people would line up, thousands of people would line up in cars, along footpaths, around entertainment centres and temporary medical centres, so that they could get a stick shoved up their snotter to find out whether or not they had a disease that had been manufactured in a lab or not, and looked suspiciously like a severe cold. We at the time, who sat on the fence, or on the other side of the fence, suggested that getting something shoved up your nose to that degree, where it was breaking the blood-brain barrier. Bear in mind, the initial ones, they wanted to put it right up here behind your eye. And some of them, all you first responders, I'm going to call you, all you first responders raced out to do it. And we warned you. We did say they're delivering something into you here, but you didn't want to believe it. Well, here's the patent. This is a patent for a nasal delivery system. It in the notes there, it describes exactly how it works and exactly what it's meant to do. And funnily enough, it's meant to deliver something along the lines of an mRNA solution or other things into the nasal mucus and beyond, into the blood-brain barrier, through the blood-brain barrier and into the brain. It's not gloating when you have this sort of evidence to show your friends who think you've been a lunatic for years. When you show them, though, don't just say, ha ha, I was right, you were wrong. Don't do that. Ask questions. Don't make statements. Show them a document like that. Ask them what it means to them. What do they understand from that document? And from there, conversations ensue. Enlightening may or may not happen, but at least you're giving yourself your best chance. If you start making statements, they switch off because they're programmed to switch off. What you need to do is compile your evidence in a form that you can present it to them. And then ask them questions about it that forces them to look at it, to understand it, to read it. Now, you're going to find some, maybe many, who refuse. Oh, I don't want to look at it. I haven't got time. I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit with you. Oh, this makes me upset. This makes me angry. Well, that's their natural humanity fighting back and being suppressed by the programming. The natural human in them all want to know the truth. But the programming we've all endured, and they have, for whatever reason, taken more than we have. It's a hard way to look at it, I guess. But if you can't break through the programming, if you don't have the ability to break through the programming, then a lot of this will be very upsetting. It doesn't mean you shouldn't know it and give yourself the best chance of protecting against it. Yes, maybe you will want to go and get that horse medicine. What was it? Oh, maybe you better go and get some of that stuff they're trafficking across the border in America. No, not fentanyl, fenbenzanol. Maybe I better listen to a few of those chats that Barbara O'Neill has online. Little things like that might open up people's minds a little bit. And who knows, if you can open their mind, in spite of the programming and in spite of the dehumanization of them, which is happening now that they've got little pieces of nanotechnology floating around and building all sorts of shit inside them. A little bit more humanity in them might be nice, don't you think? I don't think we'll get it, but it might be nice. I mentioned earlier, too, that climate change. I'm sorry, we're all so frustrated with it, I know. I got some great news the other day in Victoria. I think it was, or it might have been New South Wales, there's been a huge pushback against another fan farm going in. That solar farm has now been kicked and will not happen. I've been speaking with the wonderful Tony from the Lake Oberon estate, and now Councillor Alvarez, can I say, from Oberon. They're in the midst of a battle with wind farms at the moment, and he is obviously not terribly supportive of them, as are many, many, many people in the area. However, in speaking to him and other councillors from other areas, I'm finding that there is one thing I keep hearing, regardless of which council it is, and that is that the mayor is always the one with the most support for the project, the one who puts up the most opposition to hearing any opposition about the project, and the one who is ultimately able to sway other councillors, given the power the mayor has, to think more in line with him regarding approval of these monstrosities on our homeland. I think we, at some point, need to start looking very deeply into those that control those councils, that third level of control that they impose upon us. We really need to look at how some of those people have been rewarded for their loyalty. Now, I'm not suggesting they've been bribed, personally. There's certainly, the councils are being bribed. I know of one council that's been offered $5 million to accept the deal up front and $2 million a year after that for the duration of the project. Now, that project, I think, was a 30-year project. In 30 years, $2 million will buy you a loaf of bread. So the councillors are all open to the bribe. They don't see it as a bribe, of course. They see it as a way of funding other works for the people in the towns and, municipalities they work for. Except, is it? Does it get used that way? Maybe. Maybe. A lot of it goes into the Freemasons, I think, but I might be wrong there. But I don't think all of it goes into the people in the local areas, as it should. If it did, well, where does that leave you with the councillors that decided it was better to take the bribe and put the monstrous wind farm on the edge of our town, buggering up our views and scenery and making the whole area an eyesore for miles around, all so that you can light 17 bulbs in a town somewhere? But only when the wind blows, and only when it blows under 20 knots, or maybe 15, or might be 10. Can't have that big fan going too fast. You know what happens then? They spew out thousands of litres of oil, catch fire, fall over, and it's very messy. I don't think they pay any more to the councils when that happens. Just between you, me, and the gatepost, I think it's part of the deal when they get the original $5 million bribe. I mean, incentive payment. Sign this document here. If one of these things falls over, we'll clean it up when we get around to it. I mean, they've obviously got to clean it up fairly quick, particularly with the oil and the burning and all that, because it's a very bad look. And many of us are very interested in bad looks. Speaking of bad looks, now, I haven't had a chance to check this myself. I've only seen what might be an AI thing, and that's why I didn't save it. But if anybody is on the south coast of Victoria, around the 12 Apostles, this is an area I sort of grew up around. Port Campbell. I grew up in a little town called Mortlake, which Billboard Battalion was in yesterday, I think. G'day, Wade. Hope you're doing well. I grew up there, but Port Campbell wasn't too far away. And many of you, of course, will have driven the Great Ocean Road, seen the 12 Apostles. I've seen a photo that basically overlooks whatever's left of the 12 Apostles. I think there's 2.5 left. And see an oil rig, a gas rig, offshore. Not all that far offshore, off the Victorian coast. Now, when did that happen? I mean, there's so much shit happening in Victoria. So much shit, including right at Jacinda Allen's desk. Apparently last week, she returned to her office to find a bag of shit, literally a bag of shit on her desk, and a note from the person who left it there, one of us, it turns out, who had some support from a couple of other politicians in the place and was able to access the secure areas of the Victorian administration block where the Premier had her offices to leave her a gift and a note, which was a bag of shit. Thank you for what you're doing for Victoria, Jacinda Allen. Thank you for the theft you are trying to perpetrate with this new increased emergency services levy. You are thieves of the highest order. The people of Victoria, God help you. God help you. Especially the good people, because you understand what's happening to you. You understand what's happening to your state. Anybody, I think, that lives in particularly inner city Melbourne and probably for a large part, many other parts of Melbourne are lost to us. They swallowed it all, took it all in. There are very, very good people in Melbourne who didn't. Thank God we've got some real fighters down there. But I fear for you. I fear for you. The things that are happening in your state, you are going to be the very first communist or socialist state of Australia. And you're going to be that very, very soon. Get out. Get out while you can. Go back to the 80s when the exodus happened out of Victoria and everybody moved to bloody Queensland. And I was one of them. The John Cain era, where the potholes were bigger than the semi-trailers driving along the roads that had the potholes in them. It was unbelievably bad. The corruption, awful. And it wasn't until Jeff Kennett got in and spent 3 years cleaning the place up that I even went back to Victoria for a holiday. Absolutely shitful place. And I feel so sorry for you folks who are living there and being subjected to the crap that they are just twisting that. They're twisting that thumb bolt just that little bit tighter every time, aren't they? How long are you going to put up with it? What solution is there? Do you have one? Let Tim know. Let's catch up next Wednesday night. That'd be bloody great. Always keen on hearing other people's solutions. I'm not saying everybody has the right solution. Anybody has a full solution. But I do believe somewhere out there amongst us, we do have all the pieces for a solution. And the end piece, I feel, and we're probably close to getting that, I hope, we're not close to getting control of it, but we are close, I think, to increase the mass of it. That last piece of the jigsaw is public awareness. And if you were part of Tim's presentation last night, you would understand that that is quite a large portion of what would happen next. A very large public awareness program, a program that would cost a significant amount of money to run based on what I saw him present last night and what we've spoken about. But he's done a budget for it, and there are many people in this movement with money who could help. So we're not reaching out for donations for anything like that just yet. We've got to get to a point where we have something to try and educate the people about. It's a little way off, but be prepared. At some point, we are going to need to fund this because a very, very key piece, I would say almost a keystone piece of the puzzle, is having public awareness. And that may even include, as detestable as this may sound to you and me, some of those dickheads on the road and the computer warriors that hide off the road when their dickheadedness leaves them without a license.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!